Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. So, I think it is convenient that yesterday we talked about doing a soulmate snapshot today to talk about the super high levels of swirling emotion that's been going on lately, because it's been something that's been showing up in the messages, and I really appreciate that you guys are able to continue to send me messages, despite the fact that I don't respond back to them directly anymore, which feels weird to me. And yet I read every single one, and I just want to make sure that you guys know that. So I work that into the readings, I work it into the meditations beforehand, I work it into the questions I'm asking. If you ask questions, I'll try to work them in. So keep the questions coming. And some of you even are telling me information about your relationships. I'm not ever going to put that in these readings, but sometimes it still gives me, if you feel like it's something that you want to share, then sometimes it gives me a little bit of a flavor of what people are experiencing, what you're going through. And, my heart goes out to you. In a lot of these cases, it's just really difficult to read. It's difficult to see people going through pain, but by the same token, it does help when I come back to ask questions and say, let me try and ask them from your perspective. I have a little bit more of an idea of what that perspective might look like. So just thanks to those of you who have been willing to reach out. But one of the things that I've noticed, a pattern that I've heard in the messages here lately, is that the emotions are really high. Whether things are going well or going poorly, emotions are crazy high. They're just really, really high. Your person's energy has been very close with you for quite some time now. We've seen some evidence of the two of you kind of figuring out how to work together, but a lot of them not knowing what to do now that they're this close and wanting to run away farther, and yet feeling even more attracted because that proximity has that impact on them. So we're going to do this soulmate snapshot. We're going to ask about the super high levels of swirling emotion and kind of just what you need to know about that, what you need to do about that, what really is even just going on with today's energy. That's where we're going to start. That's where I typically like to start. It's just kind of what's happening in today's energy. What is that energetic backdrop? What is the context for the overall reading? So we've got the Knight of Pentacles. That King of Cups was, you know what, I'm going to say it was an honorable mention, but I'm also just going to go ahead and keep it out here. So the Knight of Cups is, it's this sense of, wow, I'm going to try and put this into words. And it's really, so I used to know somebody who was like a really good person until you started pointing out that they were a good person. They would have a hard time sticking with it once you brought attention to the fact that they were a good person. And yet they were constantly moving in a positive direction. The things that they did in their lives, they made decisions that were for very good person sort of reasons, for very altruistic reasons, truly just wanted to make things right. But the moment you pointed it out, they kind of would go dark and be unable to, wow, somebody is unleashing a lot of fireworks right close to where I live. So it was just the 4th of July here, and so I guess somebody's still kind of doing their celebrations. So sorry if that is audible or particularly audible to you. I can't tell how that's going to come out. But what I'm seeing here is this person has that about them. Like, they will do amazing things until attention gets drawn to that, and then they'll kind of move in a different direction and go dark. The King of Cups talks about a limitation on emotion, which is really just a reinforcement of this energy. But the thing to note here with the Knight of Pentacles is that consistent movement in a positive direction, despite the fact that there's a limitation on maybe the speed with which it can go. That's really what I kind of feel is happening here. So This is like a day in the life. It's not an energetic day in the life. It's not necessarily something that's moving super fast. It is super believable. I mean, wouldn't you think that if we're going to check the energetic backdrop every day, some of the days to come out like, oh, it's pretty normal, whatever that means. In this case, though, what it means for us is moving in a good direction, and this is around your person more. Moving in a good direction, but not really. When you cast light upon it, when you cast attention upon it, all of a sudden you meet that emotional limitation. That's happening in the spiritual realm, in the 5D as well. So you've got their energy that's kind of right on top of you, and as soon as you pay attention to it, they sort of flip out and forget how to act. That's sort of energetically what happens. We've got the King of Pentacles in the reverse. They don't really trust this, so you're more comfortable with this situation energetically than they are. When I say to you that their energy is pretty much right on top of you, you might say, well, I'm a pretty data-driven person, and 2 months ago or 2 years ago or whatever it is, if you had said that to me, I would have judged you and potentially taken everything else you said with a grain of salt. But now I realize, after feeling this, no, their energy's totally right on top of me. And that is what this feels like. And it is, couldn't have been stated any better. Well, your person is still in that place where they're saying, I'm not really comfortable with the way you stated that. And yet they're feeling it. So they have not had you may only have a small head start on them, but they haven't quite had, they haven't made the adjustment to be able to realize they're dealing with something that is maybe beyond what they previously were given to understand. And believe you me, it's something that has happened to all of us to some degree, is had to come through and say, all right, I'm just going to acknowledge what I feel and what I'm seeing, even if I don't always have the words to describe it. And so you get to a place where you just don't make assumptions about things, and you get to actually become more of an observer and less of somebody who makes a bunch of assumptions. But what we have here is the King and Queen of Pentacles both in reverse. So there's a sense of not feeling like it's real, not feeling deserving. But that sense of not feeling deserving goes all the way, it cuts all the way through into self-worth. This is feeling like energy that's impacting your person, or energy that's coming from your person more than anything else. I was asking about the energetic backdrop for this high level of emotion that's swirling, and it's all that's coming out is about your person. It's about them being unable to be, they can't have attention for the movement that they're making, or else they cease to be able to make it. They become very emotionally and energetically limited. They don't feel like they're necessarily believing what they're seeing. They're going to need a little time for this. I would give them a little time for this. You needed a little time for this, and you were more open to it. So let's see what else wants to come out there. So that's interesting. That feels like progress to me, even though it feels like, oh my goodness, there's a limitation here because of a fear. That it's a fear that that can be understood. We've got the Halley's Comet. Okay, so this is like the Hermit card. Halley's Comet only comes around every 87 years, 83. I think it's 87 years. It was the first one that came out, so I was taught that your first response is probably the correct one, so I'm sure that you'll let me know if I was wrong and it was 83, but I think every 87 years Halley's Comet comes around, or really it's an infrequent, what it feels like is an infrequent level of epiphany. Like, this is epiphany of a fairly significant magnitude coming to your person in this energy, and they are resistant to it. Okay, they're very resistant to the overall sense of it, and it hits them straight to the core. Like, there is something about, and I'll put this in the order that the messages came in, they're very resistant to this realization, and it's a rare type of realization. They get into a rare type of mood in order to get this realization. It's like they get very close with their intuitions, and they have an experience. They have a meditative experience that kind of freaks them out. Start seeing things at 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. Something that is outside of their scope of what they think is comfortable, and they are become very resistant. Many of you have had this experience at some point during your awakening. You just got to a point where you were saying, "All right, I'm seeing too much of things I don't quite understand, and it's become overwhelming to me." And so this resistance starts to appear. But really, what it's going to eke out for them is, here are these places where Pavo is, it's significant. It's significant change, tumultuous change. Everything changes. Okay. This is not a small situation that they're experiencing. This is not a small realization that they're having. That's like the Tower. They're having a situation that they can't, like, they want to resist it, but in a lot of times you see the Tower come out in reverse with your person. They don't have a choice for some reason. They're already there when it happens. Interesting. We've got a Page of Swords, which is wants to go into the reverse so badly. That's what wants to happen. Like, the biggest message coming out on this is that, yeah, it's in the upright. They're ready to conquer something brand new. But it wants to go into the reverse, and they want to hide so badly. I'm going to go ahead and put this out here in the upright. And with that, I'm done pulling cards on the current energy. You guys, you influence their feelings. They influence your feelings. This is electric. This is coming from them, and it's part of those swirling emotions that make your hair stand up on your arms. It's like there's this super high level of swirling emotion lately that you feel like you can't get out from under. You are not just imagining this. Let's see what else you need to know about it. There's a reckoning happening within your person. We saw Judgment in yesterday's reading. I think it might have been in the extended. This is that feeling. This is that same kind of feeling. Yesterday, I was a little bit at a loss, I feel like, when that card came out, to even try and explain what it was. And I feel like it's because it's all of this. This is that it's restless, it's eddying, it's constant. We have the King of Rods. This is fire. Constant, like a constant level of passion. This person's energy is right on top of you. And it's difficult to figure out how to even cope with it. I feel like if I was going to do an extended, that's what I would do. Maybe that's what tomorrow's reading will be about. Like, what do you do to cope with the fact that this person's energy is practically right on top of you and is generating this much change in, it's like lightning striking all around. It's got a I mentioned it, very electric feeling to it. Not an exaggeration, and probably the best word for the job. That one wasn't channeled, it was just me. But it makes me feel like electric, because again, I have to dip into the emotion in order to feel it and to understand what's coming off the cards. And this is really like overly caffeinated. It kind of makes you feel like super excited, like you feel right after something happens and you haven't had a chance to catch your breath yet. So you have Capricornicus here. This is like the Hanged Man. There's a new sense, a new perspective with that energy being so close and right there, but like ever present. And it's just, you guys are learning how to navigate it at this point. You have that Five of Cups. They have that Five of Cups. I don't know. I feel like this is a shared energy. Five of Cups in the upright, Venus in the reverse. Venus is the equivalent of the Empress. Five of Cups is the Five of Cups. So the Five of Cups is that water energy that is focused on things that you would consider to be the negative. So I prefer to see this card in reverse in this context, because oftentimes what it will mean for me is, and different cards mean different things to different readers. So most of you, if you've been watching tarot for any amount of time or reading tarot for any amount of time, you're probably already aware of this. But every once in a while, I feel like I just still want to say it. There's this sense of, in the upright, focusing on things that haven't gone well and a feeling of regret and shame around that. Whereas when you feel it in the reverse, it'll have that sense of, I recognize the things that didn't go well, but I also understand what still could. I see what the opportunities are for transformation. Here, though, less focus on those opportunities for transformation, more focus on what didn't go well. And that's a little bit of what's creating some of this energy and causing them to feel reluctant to move forward, feel like they're not ready, which is kind of what this Venus card wants to tell us. They don't feel fully baked. And they aren't fully baked if the other readings we've been getting are to be believed, because remember, you have been told repeatedly that this person is moving toward you, and that they are constantly trying not to get all the way to you. But some of them are failing to stay away. And when they reach out, they don't necessarily do a great job of it in a lot of cases. And so I've been hearing from some of you, and you've been saying, oh, I did hear from my person, but it is just like you said, very brief communications, very small messages, emojis, that sort of thing, not very successful communications. But we've got a Knight of Wands here saying that there is still like a growing energy that energy begets energy in this situation. It just kind of grows on itself. But some of that energy is being misdirected. So there's the fireworks in the background again. If you guys think you're hearing, I'm just confirming for you. We got the Sirius card here, which is, it's like the High Priestess. It's connection to the higher self. This is very much a reference to what's going on with your person that's making them feel uncomfortable, like they're seeing more of something than they've previously seen. And that's part of why some of this energy is being kind of siphoned off into a less useful place, because they're freaking out a little bit, because they're like, what in the world is even going on? I don't understand necessarily what I'm looking at, and yet they feel like, oh no, I kind of understand it perfectly. It just sort of freaks me out. All right, so they've got the Nine of Pentacles in the upright, and the Five of Pentacles in the upright. The Five of Pentacles is talking about their fear of rejection more than anything else. Rejection, potentially a little bit of the abandonment, more than anything else. And the Nine of Pentacles is so they've got this bond with you, but they've got this incredibly sort of, they've made up what they think is happening in your head. They've made up in their mind what they think is happening with you. And so that's part of this resistance that you feel. So that you're going to be able to feel this resistance over here. But part of that really is that they have built you up to be something in their mind that is maybe not completely accurate, and now they have a lot of drive to move toward what they've built up in their mind, and not necessarily a lot of confirmation from your end, because the communication just hasn't been very solid, hasn't been very good. So basically, when we look at this, we see that the reason there's been this high level of swirling emotion lately partially has been because they have been having a very strong experience. They've been experiencing what's been going on here lately differently. They've been experiencing it differently than they really experienced the rest of your union. There was a soul recognition. There was the two of you interacting before. There was definitely a feeling of something that had never felt like this, but now it's taken even another turn, and it's gotten a little bizarre for them. And so they're still they need a little bit of time to get right with it. So let's see what you should do as a result. What should you do? What's your focus? Okay, your focus is on your new perspective. Both of you have a new perspective. That's really great. I mean, we kind of know that with you with the previous readings, but this is, I think, incredibly useful for you. You're going to be able to use this new perspective to move forward in a way that's beneficial for both of you. Okay, so we've got the Draco card. This is like the Wheel of Fortune, and it's all about allowing change to take place. Some of the change may be a little uncomfortable. You've been told in this energy of this recent full moon to allow things to shift out of your life that need to shift out of your life. But I think it's not always going to be obvious what those things are. In some cases, it absolutely is. Look for a little guidance where it's not clear. I mean, and not necessarily guidance like you have to go to some sort of authority figure. It could be reading articles, doing a little bit of research. Look for some guidance when you're not sure about a situation that maybe you find that's new to you. Also, if it seems like the energy's not moving too quickly, take advantage of that and do a little bit more, take a little bit more time to put yourself into this and figure out really what you need to do, because that's going to be beneficial for you. You also have the Six of Cups coming out here in reverse. It's a feeling of traversing brand new territory, whether this is something physical, you're planning a trip to some place you've never been before, or it's new experience. There is something here that you've just never even had the occasion to think about, and now it's impacting your life. You've got the King of Wands, which tells me you've got no concerns about dealing with it, but use that new perspective as you go forward. That's going to be something that really benefits you and helps you make the whole experience much better. It's something that you've already set into motion, and just realize that there's more to it than whatever it is that you are aware that you've set into motion. But you're going to be creating an imbalance, and the type of balance that you'll be creating is like it's like not so much just an energetic imbalance, but like there's going to be a vacuum, an energetic vacuum. So there's going to be something that is forced to change even more. So it's going to feel like everything slows down for a second. Use that to your advantage. Do some thinking. And then all of a sudden, everything's going to start changing again. But by then, I feel like, well, by now, I feel like you're getting pretty good at change. You have a solid shot at something that is going to set your soul on fire. And we've been hearing about it. We've been talking about it in readings for months. You are aligning right up with the runway on that right now. Page of Wands says that you're going to have the right, and we've seen this energy before, you're going to have the right kind of curiosity to be able to move forward and just kind of grab what it is that you want. And the Queen of Cups says you're going to, oh my gosh, and the King of Swords, these all, and then this is it, this is the finale. Okay, so the Page of Wands, the Queen of Cups, which is the love, and the King of Swords, which is the side that feels very logical and is able to evaluate everything mentally and logically and say, this is valid, this is sound, I like the way this works out. But there is something that falls into place for you, and I think we've been seeing evidence that this has been heading in your direction, but this is your chance to kind of manifest it and actually focus on it. So it's coming into view. Something where you're going to be able to balance that, this is very emotional, this is very logical. You're going to have a balance for those things. And with this Page of Wands, that's the spark that allows you to jump in and really do your best with it. So there's something heading your direction that is enabled by and fueled by this new perspective, going to give you an opportunity to jump into something that looks like it could really be pretty cool. But it's going to be partially about redirecting some of this super intense energy that's coming from your person, because when I look at this, I think, and I think I've told you guys the story of stage energy before, that I spent part of my earlier adulthood as a stage performer, and that what I would do with my my jitters, I would have some degree of fear, some degree of stage fright, and I would take that and kind of take that fear energy, that nervous energy, and put it out to the audience as stage presence, and then they would bounce it back to me as whatever they were, however they were interpreting it, and whatever was going on with them. And then you just kind of have this thing that this beautiful experience. I feel like it's redirection of energy to do something more intentional with it, and I also feel like that's what the opportunity is here. Redirection of this energy, and this is more of what we've already seen evidence of, you and your person becoming a little bit more coordinated about how you use this new capacity that comes with your energies being so close to one another. And I think we also, like I said, I'm not going to extend this one because it's a soulmate series or a soulmate snapshot video, but what I think I would talk about if we went into the extended is how you're supposed to cope with the energy of them being right on top of you energetically. So I think that's what we're going to look at when we get into tomorrow's reading. Thank you for being here with me for this one, and I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's reading.